what class were you just in right now?
I was just in math.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's okay. I'm not really that interested in it, and I kind of just don't really like math that much, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I get that. Yeah, so before we, continue, I just want to revisit like confidentiality and, how important that is to, these meetings. Do you remember what that means?
A little bit, yeah. Kind of just like we don't talk about what we talk about here anywhere else, right?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, what we talk about, it's gonna stay here,
Mm-hmm.
unless there's issues of safety, of concern surrounding your own safety or someone else. Like you say, you're gonna hurt yourself or something like that. Because we want you to be safe, we want everyone else to be safe. But other than that, like issues at school, in math class or other classes with friends, different things like that, that's gonna stay here between us. All right. Do you have any questions with that?
No.
No? Okay. And I remember last time you mentioned also talking about having some trouble with classes. And right now you said you didn't really get math and different things like that. Is math the only subject that you're struggling with right now, or?
Um, well, math and also English too. I'm just not. I don't really like reading all that much. Like
Okay.
I'm more just like I like watching TV and like seeing things on TV or movies and stuff. But it's kind of hard for me to just read a book because I just kind of I just don't really like finish. It takes me a while to finish a book. So
Okay.
yeah.
So I'm hearing that your interests are in different places like TV or watching a movie, and sometimes it's hard to concentrate on just reading something, sitting down and reading.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are some of the classes that you aren't struggling with that you really enjoy?
I like art a lot. I've always
Okay.
liked drawing and painting. So I really like that. Um, and then also gym. Like I like kind of being able to like have fun with my friends and like play kickball and like just have that time to kind of just like run around and have fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. I get that. And what about like your science classes? How are you doing in any of those?
Um, there, I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm not really having as hard of a time in science as I am in like math or with reading.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say I'm like the best student in the class, but yeah, I'm doing okay.
And with with science, do you like it more? Is it different, or what makes it different from math and reading?
I think science I really like when we do like different experiments and things like that, or like um, when we get to work with like different like um, just like the different things we get to do during like lab time and yeah, whenever we have like science fairs and things like that, I always like doing things like that where I can like build things or
Mm-hmm.
create things. I think that's really fun for me.
So it's definitely more hands-on than math or reading or something like that.
Yeah.
There's in science classes, are you more in groups also sometimes? Is there more group work there?
Yeah, sometimes like when we do different experiments and sometimes our teacher will tell us to like pair off with the table that we're sitting at. So yeah, so those times we're in groups. But other times like when we're just like taking notes or just kind
Mm-hmm.
of the teacher's just kind of talking to us like it's one on one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in math and in reading, are there more groups there, or how is that different? Like the actual just the class structure.
Not really in math and sometimes in English class, like sometimes we'll go into groups, like if we're talking about a specific book, we'll kind of pair off into groups and like answer questions about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of have trouble staying with, whatever chapter we're at. So I don't really talk as much in those groups because I don't really know what's going on in the book because most of the time I haven't really like read it.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't really feel like I have much to say in those groups. But yeah.
Yeah, that can be hard. Just contributing or not knowing what's going
Mhm.
on. So, as far as reading, what are some little goals that you see that you can set for yourself that will help you keep interested? You mentioned earlier that you just don't, you can't concentrate for like long periods of time reading. What about breaking it up into shorter segments? Do you think that would help?
Yeah, I think so. Like I like reading like magazines or like just things like that are maybe like a little shorter.
Okay.
So I feel like maybe I can read like a different magazine every day or like a few pages of like a book.
Yeah.
I feel like that is something I can probably do as opposed to like reading like a whole book within a few days because I can't do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
for class, do you have to read a whole book in a few days, or is it just usually a chapter or a few chapters at a time?
It depends. Like our teacher usually assigns us like a chapter per week or a chapter depending on like how big the book is, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just like too much for me to read that I just don't do it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and um, and this is like a required course, right? For
Yeah.
like graduating and stuff like that.
Yeah, like if I want to graduate high school, like I have to finish this class, otherwise I have to repeat this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are your grades in it so far?
It's okay. I'm like kind of like right now I'm on a C level, but it's not the best. So like if I don't improve, then I'm gonna have to repeat the class and repeat the year.
And is graduating something that's important to you?
It is, yeah. All my friends are gonna be graduating at the end of the year, so I really want to be able to graduate with them and like maybe like go to college and do those things, and I want to be able to do that like along with my friends. So
Mm-hmm.
that would really suck if I like have to repeat a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear that. So graduating is important to you, and maybe going to college is important to you also. What have you thought of? What's topic you would study in college, or what you would be interested in doing later on?
I haven't thought about it too much, but I mean, even just like the first thing I would think of is like something with art because like that's kind of what I like to do, and so
Mm-hmm.
maybe, um, yeah, something with art. I feel like I would really like that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's really good that you have those goals. Especially going to college and graduating and different things like that. That shows that you're really um, like dedicated to something, and especially I hear that you're really interested in art and different things like that. What type of art interests you?
I really like sketching.
Okay.
Yeah, like more like sketching and drawing, but I also like painting too. Like sometimes like I'll paint in my free time, but like since I was younger, I always used to like sketch whenever I could.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm most used to, just like sketching,
Sketching.
drawing. Yeah.
Do you have like a sketchbook or something?
Yeah, I do. Like sometimes like I'll bring it with me to school if like I'm bored during class or even in my notebook, like I'll just be like sketching during class sometimes because it's just like what I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I'll bring that with me every once in a while.
Okay, that's good. I like that you have that passion and that you're working to like build on that. And what about math class? How are your grades in that?
They're also not that great. Like my last test, I failed it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't study as much as I knew I could have, but I also it was just kind of really hard. So like I kind of thought like knew I wasn't gonna do that well. So
Mm-hmm.
I tried to pay attention in class, but it was kind of just like really hard. So I did as much as I could, but I definitely could have like studied more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you ask the teacher for help? Did you go in for extra tutoring, or what are some of the things that you did to get extra help and trying to understand math?
I didn't really ask the teacher for help. I kind of just like would ask my friends next to me like if they knew how to do the problems and stuff, and like they would try to help me, and like I would kind of understand it with them. But so I thought that maybe I would understand it like when I went home and studied, but I didn't really ask the teacher. I kind of just like asked my friends if they could help me with the different problems because they do better in math than I do, so I kind of just like went to them for help.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes asking friends can be really useful since they kind of can explain it on our level. But what is something else that you think you could have done in this situation?
Um, well, now that you mention it, like I probably could have gone in for like after school like tutoring, or probably just like ask my teacher, um, just go in for extra help and like during their like office hours, and probably just like ask them for help about the questions, especially since I didn't do that well in the exam. Yeah, I probably just could have spent more time with like tutoring and things like that.
Yeah. Well, that seems like some good plans and goals to for your next exam to go into tutoring maybe, or asking your teacher directly because they know the subject a little bit more than your classmates and different things like that. And you also mentioned that you could have spent more time actually studying. Do you think that would also be a good goal to work towards, just setting a specific time to sit down and study math?
Yeah, I think that's definitely like something I can try to do. It's just like it's hard for me to sit down and study because I just would rather do something else, like watch TV or like hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me to like sit down and study, but that's definitely something that I need to do more of.
So when you're outside of school, you just rather would be with your friends and different things like
Yeah,
that.
like just like I like watching TV and I like hanging out with friends and kind of just like doing things that are like fun.
Yeah, I get that. That's really normal. A lot of kids your age, they would rather be doing something more fun or just something like that. But it's also important with your goal that you said about graduating to like focus. You don't have to spend all night and all weekend doing school stuff, but just a little bit here and there will help you reach that goal of graduating. And I want to touch back on the reading part and how you showed interest in like sketching just everything in life. Like you said, you sketch a lot of different things. And I wanted to think of a way of how you could kind of incorporate that into your reading, and maybe you can understand it a little bit better. Because for some people, people learn differently. They learn through like hands-on types of projects with groups, reading, listening, different things like that, or they remember things differently. Have you ever tried sketching out what you read?
No, I never really thought about doing that just because like I just thought I would have to like sit down and like read a whole chapter. But I never really thought about like sketching it out.
Yeah, and maybe you can make it a little bit more fun than just thinking it's schoolwork, it's boring, but you can try drawing it or try like connecting it to like what you're doing in your everyday life, connecting it to like, oh, what if I were this character, or this character reminds me of my friend, and maybe that will pique your interest a little bit more. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I think that is something that I can definitely try.
Yeah.
I never really done that. I kind of just like sketch whatever like I see or kind of like whatever I'm used to sketching. But I think that's something I can definitely try.
Yeah, or maybe you can just like create your own little comic or cartoon of what's happening in the story and related to your life. And that will also help you when going back to those groups in class, being able to explain it a little bit more because you have more of that connection there. Yeah. So yeah, because that we really want you to do well in school. You're doing good in science, and you know your art classes and different things like that, and gym, like you said. But we also want you to do well in math and English, so you can, you know, pass those STAR tests and also graduate on time with your friends and reach your goals of you know going to college. So just kind of to like recap everything that we talked about a little bit. You mentioned that you had challenges with two different classes, you know, math and English, and we worked on separate goals for each class a little bit differently. Like with math, you would do you remember some of the goals that you talked about for math that you said you would work on?
I think we mentioned like I can go in for like the after school tutoring and go in for like extra help, like to see my teacher like after class and like do problems with them. I think that's what we said.
Yeah, definitely. So that you can understand the subject a little bit better. And what about for English? What are some goals that we can establish there?
I think I can definitely try like the what you said, like sketching what I read. Like I think that's something I can do. And like trying to read smaller things every day instead of like trying to read a whole chapter in one day. Maybe just like reading a few pages
Yeah,
every day.
that's a really good goal right there. So you don't get distracted, and you'll still have time to do what you like with your friends or watching movies and TV and different things like that. Just try and have a little bit more fun with it, so it can you know engage you a little bit more. But do you have anything else before we end for today?
No, I think that's everything.
You don't have any questions or anything else? Okay. Well, I'll give you this pass so you can get back to class.
Alright, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.